Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. I hope you are.
Am.
I'm excited.
Me too. I did get a few requests for it to be taped.
Okay.
Yeah, the Latin American group actually they have their meeting tonight. So
Okay.
like if you could tape it, that'd be awesome because they wanted
Yeah.
to go. They wanted to go. So and then Callie from Georgia had requested it too from one of her people. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely record. That's not a problem.
Awesome.
Oh, wrong one.
The bathroom that has a tub. So yeah, that's fun. So Ronnie had to go buy a baby pool, and that's what we
Oh, yeah.
give him a bath in because he wants to roll in God knows what. I mean, I live out near farmland, so it's no telling what it is. By the smell, you could just imagine.
Should we get started, Veronica?
Yep, I am
All
all
right.
ready.
Cool. So I want to thank everyone for attending or watching this. If you have specific questions, if you could put them in the chat box, and after sort of we go through everything, we can go through the questions. Or if you have any comments about the magazine, I'd love to hear them as well. We're always looking for feedback, so definitely feel free to give feedback there too as well. I'm going to actually share my screen, which I've never done this before, so this is exciting. Can everyone see that? Can everyone see that?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Okay, great, perfect. So obviously today we're going to be talking about submitting to Wedding Planner Magazine, and we're going to talk about the two types of submissions. And I have no idea what this is, so I'm getting rid of that. Okay. And the two types of submissions that we have are article submissions, so editorial in nature. So articles that you see that are basically mostly print. There might be a few pictures in there, but that's what I would call editorial articles. And then the other thing that we're going to talk about today is real wedding submissions. And those are the pages that you see with like 2 to 4 pictures on there, and then underneath that has writing about the event itself. So those are the two types of submissions to Wedding Planner Magazine. So I'm just gonna go through first article submissions, because I feel like this is something that for ABC members especially, but even if you're not an ABC member and you're in the wedding industry, this is a great opportunity for you to show your expertise to our readers. We are, very open to ideas for articles. And, honestly, my job every quarter is to fill 33 pages. Now, I do have a bunch of advertising that I put in there as well, so it's not exactly 33 pages, but I do need to fill it, and I do want to fill it with good articles that are educational in nature and that also our readers are going to enjoy. Because when I want somebody, when they get their Wedding Planner Magazine in the mail, I want them to stop, sit down with their cup of coffee, their glass of wine, whatever it is, and read it. So that's my goal. That was always my goal as editor. So the article submissions are very, very important for that reason. So the first thing to know about article submission is like the subject itself. Again, I am open to ideas. If there's an article that you think is important that you want to write, please pitch it to me. Send me an email, short paragraph. Here's what I want to talk about. I'm going to give you an example. Last quarter, in our new magazine, there's an article from Elisa McKenzie, and she wrote me and said, I want to write an article about people breaking into the industry and what they should know, and how people who have been in the industry for years should treat those people. So I said, sounds like a great article, write it. So I'm just looking for your ideas. Now, obviously, I've got my ideas every quarter. We also have editorial themes every quarter as well, which you can see on weddingplannermag.com. But I'm also looking for ideas. So if there's something that is happening in the industry, happening in business, that you think, hey, we really should write an article about, I want you to write that article. So please send me an email pitching the article. The only thing that I do ask is that if we do accept it, that the deadline that you're given, you carry through from, because when I'm laying out the magazine for every quarter, I'm doing it thinking I have this article to put in there. If I don't have this article to put in there, I need to find something to fill that space. So if you're given a deadline, which you will be given a deadline, please stick to the deadline. If for some reason you don't think you can meet that deadline, let me know as soon as possible, because then I need to find something else to fill that space in the magazine. When you're doing a print publication, it's very different than an online publication. I have to lay out everything. Well, our layout editor, Jessica English, lays out everything so that it fits into 33 pages. So we have to have this, we have to have the stuff to put in there. We have article requirements. If you're writing an article, it should be about 1,000 words for a 2-page article without photos. As you know, if you get the magazine or look at the magazine, we don't put typically too many photos in the articles because it's more for educational purposes. So we kind of will mix it up sometimes and put a few photos in there, but overall, most of our editorial articles don't have photos in them. If you are going to do a 1-page article, it would be 800 words. And if you think there's photos that you'd like to include, when you contact me or when I get back to you, if you say, hey, I want to write an article about this, I will give you sort of the number of words it should be if you think that there's going to be pictures inside of it that you think are really, really great to have in there. It needs to be Word document format. I've gotten them in PDF. That just doesn't work. It has to be in a Word document format because when we place it into the magazine, we do a round of editing. And I'm not looking to like cut the article apart or anything like that, but we do look at it for grammar, clarity. Sometimes we do have to shorten them if for some reason with layout, it's just not going to work. So really it needs to be in a Word document format because we need to manipulate it as much as possible. So PDF does not work. I had somebody send it to me in a PowerPoint once. That was strange, but just a Word document, that's it. And a Google Word document's fine too. It doesn't have to be like, MS Word. It just needs to be in a format that I can edit. And then last but not least for the requirements, it needs to be educational to our readership. We're not trying to sell them anything. If you look at our writers, a lot of them often do have programs you can buy. For example, this quarter's magazine has an article by Tori Tate, who did a great article on Pinterest. And she has a Pinterest class that you can sign up for, but she doesn't talk about it in her article. So what we're looking for is to be educational. So she shared her knowledge about Pinterest. And the idea is if you think, wow, this girl really knows what she's talking about, I'm going to go to toritate.com and I'm going to look it up and maybe I'll sign up for her program. But she's not allowed to advertise that program. We're also not looking for any PR pitches either. I used to work for PR, so I know what that is like. We're basically, we write a press release and they expect us to print it. We will never do that. We are looking for educational articles that are written from an editorial perspective. So I get pitches all the time from companies that are, basically have written an article and said, in it about their company and how great their company is and things like that. I'm not going to publish anything like that. It's very much an educational format and we want to keep it that way, and we want to keep it clean because we do have advertisers in our magazine and those are the ones that we're supporting. If you're not advertising in our magazine, you're not going to get free advertisement through an article. That's just not going to happen. So what you get out of it if you do the actual article itself is we always do a page. I'm going to hold it up so y'all can see it. And this is an older magazine, but you get your picture and a short bio as well. So it's another place for people to come and look for you and look to see where they can get more information about you. And in here, you are allowed to, like, if you have a website, for example, like Mark Kingsdorf did an article for us, and we put his website, weddingghost.com. So you can put that inside your bio. So that's a way for people to get to know that you wrote the article and go check you out if they're more interested. You will also get electronic copies of the article, and you can use this for marketing. You can use this on your Instagram, your Facebook, anything, anywhere you want to use it. Basically, you'll as an author, what you will get is you'll get the cover of the magazine. So you'll get the cover of the magazine, you'll get the author page, which I showed you, and then you'll get a copy of your actual article, and it will all be in one PDF. So it's all very clean. You can put it on basically anything. When you get it in a PDF, there's a secret about PDF, which I wish more people knew about, which is you can actually take a picture of your PDF and make that into a JPEG. So you can use it as a JPEG, you just have to take a picture of it within the PDF. So then you can put it on your Instagram, your Facebook, wherever you want to put it to market it. You'll also get hard copies of magazine by request as well. So if for some reason you want the hard copy to touch and feel, you definitely can get that. As ABC members, you always get one copy, but if you write an article, Elaine is always happy to send you more copies if you want them. You establish yourself as an expert. I mean, you're writing an article that people are reading, an article that is more educational and shows your expertise in some ways, is a way to market yourself to even future clients, or if you're going to go into coaching or mentoring, it shows you as an expert. So it's really a great way to spend a few hours, write an article, get it published, and use it. I mean, don't don't let it sit in the magazine. Actually use it for yourself too. And then last but not least is points. In your ABC point system, if you write an article, you get points. And so basically, it's free points, and you can get as many points as you want in that category under articles. So you could do one every quarter if you wanted to. Probably no one's going to do that, and I understand that, but you could do it 2 or 3 times if you wanted to and count them all towards your points. So it's a really great way to get points. It's a way to show yourself as an expert. And it also is something that is a little bit outside of what a lot of wedding planners do. So it kind of distinguishes you as well in the industry by saying, hey, I was published in Wedding Planner Magazine. Veronica, do you want to take questions about that now, just in case anyone has any questions about that?
Yeah, we sure can.
Okay.
Did anybody have any questions? You can either unmute or you can type them in chat if you'd like. Uh-oh. I don't hear anything from anybody. All right.
All right.
Let's keep it
We'll
rolling.
move on then. Yep.
All right.
All right. So the next thing we'll talk about is real wedding submissions. And real wedding submissions are a little bit different than the way you think about when you submit them to a blog. When you're submitting them to a blog, you're actually submitting them to market to other couples, or maybe get in front of local vendors or something like that. You're basically trying to show pretty pictures and, hey, I did this, isn't it great? When you're submitting a real wedding to Wedding Planner Magazine, you're actually submitting it for other professionals so that they can learn from the wedding that you did. We aren't marketing ourselves to other wedding professionals. What we're trying to do is, again, educate the people that are reading the magazine. So first and foremost, this is really, really important. When you're choosing your pictures, choose them and curate them. I get sometimes a link to a photographer's website of the whole wedding. That's a lot to go through, I'll be honest. And honestly, I don't really need a picture of the groom getting his socks on. So if you can choose the best 50 to 70 pictures from the wedding and look at them from an art director's mindset, being that if there's a picture of the bride and groom or the couple in the church, and there's a great picture of them in, you know, in the church, and next to them is their bridesmaids and she's sneezing, probably not the picture to include. Make sure you're looking at those pictures from an art director standpoint. If you need to crop them and you get permission from the photographer, I'm fine with that, but you have to get permission from the photographer. But at the same time, we want to feature beautiful pictures because it is a print publication. And we also want to see the best. We don't need to see everything. We also need a good selection of details and the couple photos that tell a story from the day. So back to what I was saying about the groom getting his socks on, probably don't need that picture. But if there's a picture where the groom is, you know, has a detail, has, you know, a watch that he's putting on his wrist or something like that, and the watch is very decorative and looks really nice or something like that, those are the kind of detail shots we like. And then the other part of the detail shots is if you're writing about a detail inside the submission form, include a picture of that detail. And I know that sounds a little counterintuitive, or it sounds intuitive, but it's very true. Like a lot of people will say, and then we had this beautiful arch that was made out of acrylic and it had orchids all around it, but there's no picture of said arch with the orchids all around it. So if you are talking about it in your words, give us a picture of it too. Just because then it can, you know, kind of enhance the story if we decide to use that picture in the magazine. But even more importantly, when we put stuff on Facebook and Instagram, Kathy McCrae, who's amazing Instagram person for us, would be able to use your words to describe the acrylic arch and then show a picture of it. So remember that these pictures, while, you know, you're not going to get 50 to 70 pictures inside the magazine because obviously we don't have the room for that. And typically we use 2 to 4 for the Real Wedding submission. These pictures will still be used possibly on Instagram. Veronica might use them on Pinterest. So these pictures are not just going to die if they're not put in the magazine. They're going to be put somewhere. They're going to be used again, either on our Instagram or on the Pinterest. So think about the pictures and really think about, you know, what you want to submit. When you're filling out the submission form, the more information, the better. Oh, hi, Kathy. I was just talking about you. The more information, the better on your submission form, because again, you're trying to tell a story, but we're also trying to fill, and I'm just going to pull one up really quick that had a lot of information. We're trying to fill a whole half page of information too. So we need the information that you're sharing. We need to know your story. We need to know the insights. What can our readers learn from this wedding? You know, what went right? What went wrong? What would you do again? What wouldn't you do again? What was the inspiration for the design? You know, what's so cool about the clients that you were so excited to work with them? We just want to know your story, basically. So the more information, the more you can give us eloquently, we'll use. Now, we might cut some of it if you write too much, but I'd rather you wrote too much than too little, because we want to include your story on here. It's really, really important, and it's why you're being put in the magazine. And then the other part is including all vendors that participated. I know that I've had the situation where we've been published online and I've been left out, and it doesn't feel good, and it doesn't feel good to your vendor partners either. So if you can include all your vendors, and then also there's going to be a new section that's going to ask for their website and social media handles as well, because that goes back to sharing those other pictures that we talked about on Instagram and Pinterest and things like that. So we want to know, like, if, you know, if they have a website, what their Instagram is, what their Pinterest is, so that we can tag them as well, because that is the way you should do it. We all know that a wedding is not just one person, that there's many, many people that participate in it, and we want to make sure that they're all given the credit. And that especially includes the photographer. I think it's very important for you to make sure that the photographer is okay with you, first of all, submitting this wedding. I also suggest that you contact your couple and make sure that they're okay with you submitting their wedding, because the opportunity exists, which we'll talk about, for your couple to be on the cover. And if for some reason they're not comfortable with that, you don't want that to be like, hey, you're on the cover of Wedding Planner magazine. And they're like, what? Why would you submit our wedding? We didn't want you to. So you need to get permission, especially from the photographer, because they own the pictures in most cases. And secondly, from the couple itself. As a publisher, I'm assuming you have those permissions. So I'm not going to like ask for a signed document saying you have the permissions or anything like that, but I'm assuming you have those permissions. So when we publish, if somebody says, why am I on the cover of this? My first reaction to them is going to be, you need to talk to your planner who submitted this. So it's really important to get those permissions. And then next, for submitting your pictures, they have to be high resolution. Print, especially the cover, has to be high resolution, or it'll just be a big fuzzball. It's not pretty. And I actually have a tragic, I guess tragic's not really the word, but a sad story in that when I first started doing this, this is my second year, wow. Second year doing this as editor. The first quarter, I got a submission. It was beautiful. The pictures were gorgeous, and they were all low res. And when I went back to the planner, they said, well, the photographer won't give me high resolution. And that's sad, because I don't understand why a photographer would do that, but that's a whole different subject. But at the same time, I couldn't use that wedding. I just couldn't, because I have to make sure that this is a quality publication. We have advertisers, we have readers that expect a quality publication. And with that, we have to have high resolution. So if you're unsure if your pictures that you have from XYZ wedding is high resolution, talk to your photographer and tell them this is going in a print publication, and they will probably give you more than high resolution than what you need. Because they have the raw files, so they can make it as big as they need it to be. So tell them it's for a print publication if you are unsure if the pictures you already have are that. Secondly, when you submit your pictures, and this I know is a little bit of work, but it helps my job immensely, is when you submit to Dropbox, because that's how we get our submissions, basically all your pictures go in one after another. They don't go into a folder, they just go in one after another. So it's really important for those photos to be labeled so I know what wedding it is. And so what I absolutely prefer is that they're labeled with your business name. So let's say your name was Swish Events, for example, and then the name of the couple, so the Jones Pool wedding, and then the number that the picture is, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. This helps me because when you submit your submission form, that actually goes to an email, and it'll say on there that it was submitted by Swish Events. On there it asks what the couple's name is, and I'll see it's Susie Jones and Bob Poole. I can put 2 and 2 together, and so it's very easy for me, like, oh, this is the submission form for this wedding, here's the pictures. Then it goes into a folder where we go from there. So it's really important to label your photos. And so when you get them from the photographer, they're not going to be labeled this way. So you're going to have to rename them. But again, you're only choosing 50 to 70 pictures. So it's just really important. And it also just makes it easier for everybody in the end too. So as some of you may or may not know, I'm a full-time wedding planner. I do this, I guess, full-time too. So as much as I can make my job a little bit easier when I do this, we do this every quarter. We just ended this quarter because the new magazine's coming out, which means I've already started planning for the next quarter. So there's no downtime in between magazines. There is for you guys getting it, but there's not for the planning in it. So the more that we can make things more efficient for everyone, the better. So it's really, really important. Did you want to open up to any questions now, Veronica? I feel like I've been talking too much.
That's all right. It's a lot of really great information. Did you guys have any questions so far? You can feel free to unmute or you can type it in chat. Do you guys have some weddings that you're ready to submit?
So how young or old are these weddings? Do you need them to be for this year, last year? I mean, because, you know, this year is kind of a bust.
This year's kind of a bust. I agree. No, I understand, Kazi. So we actually don't have a restriction on the time frame. Obviously, if you submitted a wedding where somebody had a big poofy sleeves for their dress or something like that, unless it was a retro wedding, we probably wouldn't publish that. But as long as it has a modern feel to it, or there was just something very interesting about the wedding, there was a good story behind it. I'm more interested in the story behind it rather than, how old the pictures might be. So that's kind of what we're looking for is the story behind it. So we don't have any restrictions on, it has to be less than 2 years old or something like that. But if it looks like super dated, we'll probably take a pause, or we might not post maybe like the clothes that people are wearing or something like that. But it doesn't have to be like last year or this year.
Okay, that's fine. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So does that mean you'll be submitting some weddings then shortly?
I have quite a few weddings I would like to submit. They were really great, and they have nice stories.
Awesome.
So I'll be sending those.
That's awesome. No,
Great.
that's wonderful because that's really what it is. It's about the story, because that's what we want our readers to get out of it is, yeah, that's a very pretty picture, but then, oh, wow, this, like, I think a few months ago, quarters ago, we had one where she talked about having not just a plan B, but a plan C, and that at the end, they were doing plan A, but she had B and C just in case. So things like that where people can learn, and just kind of stop and say, oh, that's interesting or something like that. So cool. So
Great.
for some reason, there we go. Okay. So just to kind of go back to pictures again, and I'm not trying to beat this into the ground, but it is very, very important. The permission from the photographer and the couple is very important. High resolution is very, very important. And I know that sometimes that's just a stumbling block for people. So if you have a picture and you don't know if it's high resolution, you can't get a hold of the photographer to ask, send me one picture and be like, is this high resolution enough? Typically, if you can attach it to a text, it is not high resolution enough, just so you know. But I'm willing to answer those questions. I know because it's very different than when people submit to blogs. So just again, high resolution, very important. Also important is vertical and horizontal pictures. We want a combination of both. We always use a vertical picture on the cover. So if you have no vertical pictures in your submission, you're probably not going to get the cover because it just wouldn't work. And then horizontal is important because sometimes when we're fitting in the pictures with the text and everything inside the real weddings, a horizontal is going to work a lot better than a vertical. So make sure you've got a combination of those. And then just to talk a little bit about cover photos and how they're chosen and things like that. The cover photo is also our billboard. So when you get your magazine, you're looking at it. I'm just going to pull a different one here. Don't mind me. I just have 900 wedding planner magazines in my office. When we pick the cover, we also need to be able to fit the text on it as well. Well, here we go. Text on it as well. That's really, really important. So it really has to have sort of a background that will basically be conducive to writing text on it as well. So if it's a super busy background, it's probably not going to get picked as a cover photo. Our philosophy since I took over the magazine is that it'll always be a couple on the photo, on the front, or a single person, either a groom or a bride. We're not going to just put like a pretty picture of like flowers. We're not a floral magazine, we're a wedding planner magazine, and our bread and butter are our couples. That's who we work with, that's who we design for, that's who we plan with. So they're the ones that are going to be on the cover. So it's always going to also be a photo of a person as well. So that's another thing to think about when you're submitting. If for some reason your couples are like, oh, you can submit my wedding, you can submit all of my pretty details and all that kind of stuff, but we don't want our picture in there, you can still submit it as a real wedding submission, but it's not going to be on the cover. So that's just something to think about. And then on the inside cover is yet another place where, again, now you can see this is a horizontal photo. This is always a horizontal photo. And sometimes it's black and white, sometimes it's in color. And so in its purpose is kind of the secondary focus of featuring our real weddings in the issue. Again, it's usually people. It's not necessarily the couple all the time. We've had bridesmaids in there. We've had groomsmen in there. I think we had like a mom and or a dad and a daughter in there at one point. So it's just, but it's always going to be people as well. Because I feel like that's what we do. That's who we are. We work with people. We don't necessarily work with just like pretty linens. So again, you have two ways you can be featured, but again, one is vertical, one is horizontal. That's why it's important to submit both types of photos. So why should you submit? First of all, you get to see your work in print. And I don't know, I mean, I'm just going to put Kathy on the spot because she's here. Kathy had a wedding that was on the cover a few quarters ago. If she's still here, are you still here, Kathy? Yes, there you go. That's the one. And I mean, how amazing, you can unmute yourself. How amazing was it to see your work in print?
Well, it's always great. It's a reinforcement kind of, but you're doing a good job and it showcases what your ability. I think I told my couple I was submitting it and we sent it to them, and I think the bride, like before I even heard back, she'd already contacted you to how can she get multiple copies of the magazine and stuff. So it was there. It definitely, as I said, it's exposure for you and your business and what you can do, both in print, but on the website as well, which is why it's so important that you tag your vendors because they'll often share that as well. And it's, as you said, it's on your list here too, but I'm just finishing my accredited application to go in. And there's a lot of points for real wedding submissions and stuff that I've been accumulating over the last few years. So it's a great exposure for your business. And one of the, I think the best things is this is an opportunity that we don't have to pay additional money for. Like sometimes there are some magazines that insist you pay money to advertise with them, or to sometimes to even submit the application, you have to pay money. And this is an opportunity that Wedding Planner magazine gives to us to showcase what we can do at no additional cost to us, which is a bonus. So
Totally. And well, you just went through my whole why submit, which was awesome. But I just kind of want to reiterate a little bit about how excited clients and fellow vendors get. I have had photographers send me emails that basically said, I've never seen my work in print. This is amazing. And so it also helps you keep those relationships and maintain those relationships and enhance those relationships with those other vendors too. And so it really is something, and like Kathy said, it's totally free. It just is, it's some of your time. And we do ask for some of your time. We don't ask for a ton of time, but it does take time to do it. And we want you to do it thoughtfully, and really, you know, think about those pictures and think about what you're saying about the wedding and things like that, because it is something then that you can keep marketing over and over and over and over again. And then obviously the points is, I mean, it's basically free points, let's be honest. I mean, I don't think Shelby would like me to say that, but it's basically free points if you think about, whoops, that just went crazy. Sorry about that. And so it's one of the easiest ways to get points in my estimation. I mean, literally you're submitting some pictures of a great wedding you did and you're telling us about it. So that's kind of the basics about it. And then, you know, I am always open for people to send me stuff. Again, for real wedding submissions, that needs to go through weddingplannermag.com right now. That may be changing and going to an ABC website in the future, but that's TBD right now. But right now you go to weddingplannermag.com, submissions, and you'll go to real weddings, and you'll see two sections on there. One is the part where you load your pictures, and then below it will be the form you fill out for your submissions itself. And that's how you send those in. Please don't email me your pictures. My Gmail account wouldn't like it, trust me. Don't email me your pictures. If you want to write an article, however, please do email me, editor@weddingplannermag.com, with your pitch. Hey, this is the article I want to write. Here's why I want to write it. And I think it'd be a good educational article because XYZ. You don't even have to go into that much detail. Just tell me what the article is, and then we'll have a chat over email about it, and you know what angle I'm looking for, things like that. Instagram, our Instagram is awesome now because Kathy's managing it. Wedding Planner Mag is the Instagram account. Obviously, ABC Association has their Instagram account as well too, which I think some things are being cross-done on it. But Wedding Planner Mag is it's not Wedding Planner Magazine. Don't go to Wedding Planner Magazine. Instagram is not affiliated with us, just so you all know. And so Wedding Planner Mag's the place to be. That's where you should follow. That's where you should look for your tags, all that kind of good stuff. So that's the best way to contact and follow us. We also have a Facebook account that I just honestly forgot to put on the slide. And that's Wedding Planner Magazine. And we're not going to talk about why some things are Wedding Planner Mag and some things are Wedding Planner Magazine, because that's a whole different conversation. So we'll just kind of go from there. So that is basically the presentation, but I'd love to hear from you guys and what questions you have, and you know, any kind of comments or anything that, like, you know, you guys want to talk about regarding the magazine. I'm open.
When is the next deadline? Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. So because of COVID this year, everything was kind of pushed back a little bit. Our printer in Wisconsin actually closed completely for a while. So everything was kind of pushed around a little bit. Our next magazine will come out end of October now. And so our deadline for articles is September 30th. Real wedding submissions are on a rolling basis. You guys can submit whenever you want. We keep everything in a file, and then kind of based on like the time of year it is or what the themes of the magazine are, I think that's how we choose which ones to include. So those are on a rolling basis. You can do those at any point. There's no deadline for those, but articles September 30th this year.
Thank you.
And Gossie, did you have a question?
No, she just answered it. I was going to ask whether or not, if you submit a real wedding, do you all keep those and file them away until you need them for a particular thing?
Absolutely. And if I did this presentation about 4 months ago, I would say I have no real weddings. I put everything in I get. I actually have been getting more, which has been great. But yes, we keep them. We sort of sort them by, okay, this makes sense for a spring, issue. This makes more sense for a winter issue. Sometimes we'll mix and match them though. It kind of depends. Sometimes if we have never featured the state before, I will try to push for that one to be, featured because that state has never been featured before, or that country or something like that.
I think it's a difficult task, a daunting task, and I think y'all do a great job of it. I couldn't do it.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Man, I look at that magazine every time I get it. I am magazine.
I appreciate that, Pam. Thank you.
I take it to work and I sneak looking at it till I can finish it.
That's awesome. Thank you. I love to hear that. And I do hope like people do, like when I first talked to David about becoming editor, one of the things I said to him was, I want this to kind of be like a Forbes for our industry. So that like when you're reading it, not every article may be relevant to you because you've been in business for X, so many years, or maybe you're brand new and this isn't relevant to you, but that you'll get something out of it every time of education. That's my goal.
Great. And what about style shoots? Do you guys publish style shoots?
At the moment, our editorial philosophy is that we do not publish styled shoots. What we will publish, however, is articles about styled shoots. So if you were going to write an article about, here's like the top 10 things that you should do to put together a styled shoot, and you wanted to include some pictures from that styled shoot, we would consider doing something like that. And we definitely would consider if there's like something that was, like I know a few months ago or something, somebody did one for like around COVID, I saw like on a blog or something like that. They did it with masks and stuff like that. If there's a story behind the styled shoot, more than, hey, I got together with my favorite vendors and we did something wacky and fun, I'm definitely open to doing that, but they won't ever be put in the section with like real wedding submissions.
Okay, that helps.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else have questions, comments?
Kathy has one.
Awesome.
Mine's not a question per se, but it's as someone who's done this a few times. When you're trying to get your photos together, like most of my photographers are really good, and they'll send me the Dropbox link and whatever, and I got 1,500 photos I got to work with.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I found has really helped with magazine submissions is I copy all the pictures and put them in a file. So it might even say like wedding planner mag submission that's filed under that couple. And then just like you go to the eye doctor and they ask you, is one better or is two better? I start taking photos out of that file. So when I've got it whittled down to the 50 or 70 or whatever, it also makes it really easy to rename them because I can type in that whatever it was that Robin said. It was
your company,
yeah,
and
the company,
name of
the couple's name, but I can start doing like a copy and paste and go 1, 2, 3 and just do it. But then they're all in one folder and I haven't messed up or accidentally deleted any of the other photos. So it took me a while to figure that out, but it's really helped and made it a lot easier to narrow it down. So
yeah. And that's a great tip because I know it's a lot of work. I mean,
Right.
I'm not going to say that I don't appreciate the work that goes into what people do to submit these real weddings. We do. We really appreciate it. But it just needs to happen because of the fact that I only have 24 hours in a day.
And the one thing I'm seeing in the comments, like a lot of people like Carol and Josie and that you're talking about to get published, it would be a dream come true, which it is. And I just go for it. Like
Go for it.
doesn't-
Go for
You
it.
don't need a $250,000 wedding to be able to submit. And it really is what Robin's talking about. It's the story behind the wedding. It's the personal details and stuff. And as I said, you still can have a nice looking wedding on a budget. And sometimes that information and how you made that happen is the story that is going to make a
Absolutely.
difference for someone else, which is why Robin might choose it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Take that risk and go for it. And if
It's
it
not that
hurts, you don't
scary.
succeed,
I'm not
do it
scary.
again.
I'm not
Stuff?
scary.
No, she's not. She's not. So go for
Not
it.
scary at all. No, I really do want everyone to submit. And I also, and I kind of want to, I'm going to pick on Kathy again, just because the one she just did not too long ago. And it wasn't a multi-million-dollar wedding, but the one thing that I remember from it is that that couple, you know, had to reduce their wedding for some reason. I can't remember why it was. Something like you said, they had to like cut their budget a little bit, but they still had like beautiful details in it. And,
Yeah.
and that's what we want to hear. We want to hear like, okay, our couple had to cut their budget for whatever reason. But this is what we did to make up for that, or this is how we made sure it was still a great experience for the guests, or things like that. We just want the story. We ask how much it is because I want it to be realistic for people reading the magazine, that if they see, you know, like an acrylic arch with all orchids and stuff like that, I want people to know that that wedding probably was around, you know, a 6-figure budget, possibly. So I do want to know like how much the wedding was, but we're not ranking them that way. We're not looking at them like, oh, well, this is a $25,000 wedding, so we're not going to include that one, but this is a $90,000 wedding, so we're going to include that one. What makes me want to include them is the story, period. So, yeah. Yep.
So I got bumped off, so I missed a great big chunk of this.
Yeah.
Sorry. Used to, when I submitted, you had questions. Do you still have the basic questions somewhere for people to fill out?
We do. So when you go to weddingplannermag.com submissions,
Okay.
that form is there. Some of them are required to respond to. Some of them aren't required. But the more information, the better. I'd rather have more information than less information. So when you're talking to people about submitting, you know, tell them, you know, I want paragraphs. I don't want just like 1 or 2 words about the wedding.
Gotcha.
So that's important. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
No worries. Anybody else? Awesome.
All right.
I hope you guys submit. I hope you guys also think about submitting articles as well. I know that can be a little intimidating. One thing that if you don't feel like, hey, I'm not the greatest writer, or maybe I won't write it well or something like that. One thing to download, and it is free for a lot of the time. You can upgrade it, but you don't have to. It's called Grammarly. And it basically is a plugin that will look at what you wrote and tell you if it's written correctly. And I'll be completely honest, every article is run through Grammarly. So when I get the article, I put it in my Grammarly and I go through it that way. So, you know, it's an easy way to do it. But just remember, like if you're a little intimidated about writing an article, just remember you want a subject, you want something that's going to be catch your reader's attention in the first paragraph or so. Write something that is going to be educational in nature, and then have like a wrap-up paragraph. So that's what we're looking for. And I know you guys have ideas. I know you guys do. So I want to hear them. So don't just focus on the real weddings. Obviously, those are, you know, fun, and I love those, and I do want more of those. But I also really would like to see more articles, especially from our ABC group. Cool.
Great. Well, definitely thank you, ladies, for joining us.
Thank you.
This
We
has been
really
great.
appreciate it. And we hope to see you guys in the magazine in October.
Yes, definitely. All right, everyone. Have a nice evening and stay safe.
All right, you too. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.